All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. It's been a while since I've made you one of these videos, but we had a crazy day of options trading today. We turned $40 into $400. Then there was another one with NVCR, and this one just had a weird approval after the bell, but it started going crazy pre, and we got some really good plays, but I figured I would share with you some very important option tips that you could use for this year, next year, and hopefully guide you because there's a unique little strategy that seems to be returning. So I got a quick breakdown for you. I'm going to go over 3 things you got to look for so you can replicate these plays. I'm going to go over the plays, and then I'm going to share with you the plays that I made today. So if you want to know how we did it, the first play, it was ASML. Now, in this case, they did have an error. They accidentally released their earnings the day before. But again, if you are on youtube.com/thestockmarket, you will watch this live. What happened? Started going crazy on the low ticker. Then we confirmed the news and find out what it is. But depending on the move, you can already tell if it is going to be something big. So I made 2 different plays right when it started to happen, literally at like 10:30. This candle right here, that's when I was executed on the play. I grabbed one of the weeklies for $77 and I sold it for $150 to try to get my money back, and they scammed me. This thing went up to like $4 or $5, but then my other contract, I grabbed a next week 660 put, and then that was at like what, 10:31, and then by 11:28, an hour later, I was able to sell that for $400, just under 1,000%. That was the first one, but then at the end of the day, there was a wild move, and you could see we were putting in the orders. A lot of you guys on stream, and again, if you were there live on stream, regardless of what I did, if you were hearing me call this out loud, and this is going to be one of the important keys that we're going to talk about, if you were just hearing it, you knew something was going on. Some of y'all even picked up shares, but by that time, like 344, you could see this thing was barely moving. Then it rocketed up 20%, and then after hours, they announced a big drug approval, and now everyone's going to be talking about this one tomorrow, and we'll see where this ends up. But there is something that we talked about earlier this week that's going to come up again. So these were the 2 main plays. There was a couple of other ones, but I want you to see these are what we made money on today. But now, how do you find them, and what should you be looking for? I'm going to get into that right after you like the video. Make sure you subscribe and all that. You don't know, youtube.com/stockmarket. Run it, baby.
Walking to the couch, it's a 2020 election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but the sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
But right off the bat, as far as finding these plays, and the option tip I want you to be aware of is simply news plays are back. The window is small where things come out and a lot of things make moves and you are able to jump on it. But here's the deal. Is it one part about the news and what's going on? Yes, especially when we have earnings. But the real big factor, pay attention, it has been a while with the VIX above 20. Remember August and what we went through there? That was the biggest move on the VIX on record. And really, a lot of that hangover is still there. You have markets at all-time highs. You have rate cuts and people talking about a lot of different things. This is the perfect environment for cheap plays that can go crazy, or where things are happening and then the market is moving big and catching a lot of people off guard. That is what has been happening here. I have an old video called Snaking the Chain, or How to Snake the Chain, How to Beat the Market Makers. Unfortunately, if you search out the title, YouTube makes it hard. I posted this years ago, but that's one of those strategies that when news comes out, you look at the option chain and you can see which options have not updated. So I don't know. Search it. If you can't find it, comment and let me know, and then I'll have to post the link for you. But that is one big factor that I want to talk about. But now, to make it a lot easier, because there is a method to the madness. Yes, these plays come out. There's a lot of news and a lot of things going on. How do you know which ones to go shopping for and to go get a cheap option? And this is why you keep it cheap, because guess what? If you swing and miss, you're going to lose. So you don't want to lose a lot, but if it does work work in your favor, you want to be able to have a lot of upside. This is the basis of a lot of the option videos that I have made. So hopefully you go back to and refresh if you're not aware. But the first thing you got to look for, and this is something that I'm going to be doing with a lot of post-earnings plays. I even did it today on other plays, and even when this news comes out, I am using this as a guide. It is very simple. When you are looking at an option chain, if that option is going for the same price as the day before, but you have new information, that gives you an opportunity to act. So a lot of times what you're getting company earnings, you know how they reported, you know if they did good or bad, and then the option will either be trading higher or lower than the prior day. So sometimes the stock will be up, you know that it's good data, but if that option is trading at the same price as the day before, you have a better chance of getting a underpriced or a better valued option. If the stock continues in your direction, you could go buy the best price or get your options at a value, and then if the stock reverses, unfortunately, you're going to lose it all again. That's why I go back to spending a little bit amount of money, and also reference the pricing in video, because we talk about this a lot with the earnings plays, but this is the number one thing I would be looking off right off the bat, whether it's post-earnings or there's a news play. Pay attention to what those contracts are going for the day before, and if it is the same price with a fresh new catalyst, chances are you're getting it early. If not, and you notice now that it's 300, 400%, we saw a news play like that today, and even though we got the news early, the contracts were already jacked up. You got to be mindful of that. So that's the first thing that I would watch out for. The second key that you need to pay attention for, and if you watch this live, and this is it, again, a lot of people are going to say, even, where do you get the news? All of that. I mean, ask anybody, whether I tell you what I'm buying or not. You are getting this within a second of me finding out, because I'm a loud individual and I'm being very vocal about it, and you're even being able to watch it on the wire. But ultimately, this high-low ticker is also live. Whether I call it out or not, you will catch a lot of these moves just from watching it here. So the point is, how do you know which one to go after? And this is something I do a lot live. How do I sift through a lot of the noise? It's very simple. 3 to 5%. If the first candle off any headline, or even if there is no headline, if you're moving 3%, 5%, even 7%, that is usually one of those numbers that is letting you know something is brewing. The way I look at it, that's how the algo is pricing for the minimum risk. If even something's moving and they don't know exactly what, they're going to raise the spreads by 7% to account for anything, and then as they get the info and digest it, the prices start to move accordingly. But usually, if you see the first candle pop like this amount, that is usually letting you know something big is going on. Now, clearly, I put it here, there can be some false signals. It's not like every single one of these pops means something. Even today, there was like State Street, and the pop did indicate something. Like, this is a good example. Where was it? STT. And you can see this pop right here, I think it was like 2 or 3%. And even before any headline came out, you knew their conference call, or they were at an event, was happening. In this case, it was the conference call. They started moving up, and then that positive quickly turned negative, and then details came out, and then it leveled out. So it can give you an idea, but like I'm saying, why I be going for these cheap plays is so that you could prevent any of these false signals, or if you do catch a false signal, it doesn't completely backfire. So watch out for that. That is the second thing you should be looking for. Now, finally, this is something kind of new, and I know there's always been suspicion around it, but I'll just tell you, man, as of lately, it's kind of been sketchy, and we noticed this. We saw this with a play that we were holding even the other day with Walgreens, even though there was earnings. But now, even today, that play NVCR, we got it before any news was announced, and it was going crazy, and the contracts were already juiced. And then, sure enough, they get this big approval after hours. But the fact of the matter is, this could be another signal. I don't know how accurate it will be. This is something I am looking for and monitoring, but I have seen very big rewards off of it. But then again, you have to be able to keep it small. But for now, it's looking like things are brewing. And what I'm talking about and what you should be looking for is contracts that should be dead, but they are expensive. And what I mean by that is a contract with only 1 day left, 2 days left, and 10, 15% out of the money, and seemingly no catalyst, no earnings, and that contract is still holding the same price as last week. That is not normal for the contract. And like I'm saying, what I've been noticing here is when I have caught in those few instances, there has been some level of big news that is quickly followed. So we saw that today. We're going to see, again, my plays, they even went up like 80%, 100%. Even if you did the short-term NVCRs or shares right when we called it, you made a lot of money. But again, it just shot up another like $6 or $7 after hours off of the approval. And sure enough, all of those options ahead of time, they were kind of indicating that, and then the stock started moving. We got one of those 5% candles today, and we knew that we should be paying attention. So this is stuff we did live. Like I'm saying, you want the news, all of that, go there live, youtube.com/thestockmarket/live. Even if you can't find it, you could always type it in. But the point is, these three things, they will help you with your option trading if you're trying to go on the go and find cheap contracts, or even then have some level of standard to compare your pricing to. Again, these three things you can know: is the stock really moving? Is this an abnormal move? Is the option higher or lower than the day before? And how should this contract be valued given how much time is remaining? So I hope this all helps. I hope you're able to learn something from it. And now, to give you a little bit more insight, I made a ton of plays today, but I did keep these cheap. Why does that say 24? No, these were at 4 cents. Or I think at 6 cents. I don't know why that was. I spent $24 total, but I did make a lot of plays. But again, these were all cheap, and I did use these strategies. So I started this morning, Bank of America. I grabbed the next week contracts, 46 calls. I grabbed 4 of them for 6 cents. I don't know. I even put 0.6. Like I said, I had that spelling error. But I thought Bank of America was going to continue, and now you could have first example of what I'm showing you failing. So why did I grab this contract? I thought they were going to continue. I went with next week. I thought Bank of America earnings were actually good. I thought they were going to have a good day. I don't know why my thing's taking so long to load, but the fact of the matter was these contracts, they were going for 6 cents yesterday. I knew they had earnings and I knew it was good, so I said, hey, let me grab 4 of them. Four of them for 6 cents. I spent about $24. So I thought I was getting a decent price there, but again, this stock did not end up continuing. You got to wait till this loads up there. It did kind of hold, but it didn't go up from the morning. You could see how it kind of reflected. I'm going to probably lose on that play unless it wakes up out of nowhere. But again, that is $24. So that was the first play. And then the second play that I made was 2 Johnson & Johnson next week, 172.5 calls. I grabbed those at 7 cents a pop, $14 total, and then shortly they went up to 14 cents, and I sold one of them back for my initial investment so that I could make this free. But again, I used the same exact strategy that I'm telling you about now. If anything, instead of grabbing the same price, I saw that Johnson & Johnson, they had good earnings, and they were up a lot more pre-market, and then they like kind of sold off. Hold on, wait till it loads here, right? So they had a good earnings. They were up, and then they opened low, and then it rocketed up and chilled out. So I went to these contracts. Again, I knew the news. I knew the catalyst. It already came out, and I noticed that these contracts were going for 11 cents yesterday. I was able to grab them there at 7, so I grabbed 2 of them. They even shot up to 21. I could have even made a lot more there, or even got more back for free, but right when it doubled up, I got my initial investment back, and now I got a free play for next week. If I lose, I lose my $7, $14 of profit, but if this goes good and we get add $100 or $200, I will take it. So again, I hope you are seeing the example and understanding how I am shopping for these cheap plays. So like you said, Bank of America don't work. This one ended up working, and then this was the big play right when the news came out. So this was the one I showed you. I did make 2 plays. The first one, I was trying to go quickly on the weekly. I grabbed the 700 put right when we got White Room. We saw it coming down. We got it on the high-low ticker. We got the news that it was lower guidance, but even if you didn't have time to interpret it, you could see by the reaction. And then I went to the option chain. I found some of those lagging contracts. We snaked the chain. This one should have been lower. It filled me higher, and then on the sell, like I said, these ended up going for 4, but that one, 70 to like $1.50, and then the next week contracts, these were the ones that we got $45 to 4, and then at the bottom. These ended up dropping like 75 cents, but, I was feeling frisky. We got a good money out. Again, we put in like $110, $120 total, pulled out $550. I put $175 back into a call for next week just in case it moves, but that one did drop a little bit by the end of the day. And then we were seeing Walgreens a lot. This was another one that had a very active option chain yesterday, and this one surprised, but again, this thing was already up like 12%, and I did exactly what I'm telling you here, because even though the stock was up, if you went to the next week contracts on the 12, these contracts were going for around the same price. I bought it 1 cent cheaper than where it was at close, so I figured, hey, this does go up, we could do good. So I spent $18. They did kind of tick up, but then it chilled out after Walgreens stock chilled out, but we might still be able to get a continuation. The only thing I did not like about this play is paying $6 for a $12 stock. Believe it or not, that's expensive because the underlying, it's not really that much. So that was the other one. Then Excel, this one went up 10%. Once again, we saw a candle. And this one popped up this morning, literally before any headlines came out. That's what I'm saying. If you're there live, you really hear my voice call outs on it. But what ended up happening was that this had a 5% candle. We started looking around, but there were some cheap contracts. And then I was able to get these like 32s for 30, but they ended up leveling out. These other ones started, oh no, we got the November ones. I think it was up there a lot more. Where was it? Yeah, the spread was just very wide. So it was all over the place, but they ended up winning a court case. So again, we found out the news later, and this is another cancer drug as well, but that was $30. Try to keep that small. And then MPW, this one was a mix of exactly what I'm telling you here with the cheaper from the day before, but also earnings. So they had news today. They completed this investigation and they found no wrongdoing in it, and that was good news. And the stock was up pre-market, sold off intraday. It was about to go red, and I was looking at these contracts, and they were cheaper than the day before, and now this even covers the week after their earnings. So good news, cheaper than the day before and earnings. So I said, yeah, let's throw $100 on it. And I grabbed the calls there for earnings. I grabbed the November 1st 550s, still holding those. They kind of moved up a little bit, probably make those free before. And then JB Hunt, this one was just a pure option trade. We did the 2 standard deviation calculation and noticed that one was a little cheap, but JB Hunt ended up ripping. We're going to lose $15. And then finally, I grabbed 2 of the January 35 calls on the 44. Why I went with this one, because if you grab shares and we got it, oh my gosh, you killed it. And I did notice the options were up a lot. I didn't like the short-term NVCR options because they were juiced even before everything started running. They were kind of indicating a catalyst was on the way, but if you did go out on the chain, I was able to find these ones. These were only up like 10, 20% from the day before, when a lot of the other contracts were only up 200%. So that's exactly why I went with these. So we'll see where they're at. I put an order to sell them for like $1 by close, since the bid went up to, like, the ask went up to like 120, but I didn't get filled. So we'll see where this ends up after the news. But those are all the plays I made today. But I think a very good example and why I ended up making so many plays today, because there was just so much going on. But I hope by the end of this, you are able to sift through a lot of everything and find some quality plays. So make sure you share them in the chat. Don't gatekeep, baby, but that is all I have for you. I will see you in the morning, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, sometimes the best way to progress is to be going backwards. If you're on the wrong path making moves, you are not progressing in the right way. Remember, you got to fix the clock. If the clock is wrong, you got to fix. Oh, my. So, Chad, I hope you feel me. Drink that water. Stay hydrated and healthy. I'll see you in the morning. And horn.